Satanic horror is a subgenre of horror with a lot of different categories. There's demonic possession, satanic cults, satanic worship, the birth of the Antichrist, and the selling of the soul. Today we're going to be looking at this entire subgenre with a focus on the top 20 most evil satanic horror films of all time. So we're not going to be looking at any horror comedies or any movies that use demons as zombie-like movie monsters. No, these are movies that give you a palpable feeling of ultimate evil. My name is Daniel with the Cobwebs channel, and let's get started.
That wasn't your father.
What's his face?
Heaven help us all. When the Devils Reign.
At number 20, The Devil's Reign from 1975. So we're really kicking off this list with the 1970s B movie. The Devil's Reign is absolutely insane. It is total prime bonkers exploitation horror with an actually amazing cast. It's starring William Shatner and Tom Skerritt as brothers who don't look anything like brothers. But you've also got classic Hollywood legends like Ida Lupino and Keenan Wynn, but most importantly, Ernest Borgnine as the satanic cult leader. You may have never known that you needed Ernest Borgnine as a satanic priest, but you absolutely did. He is so fun, so over the top in this movie, and he's just kind of like this cowboy who worships the devil and has these crazy powers. And yes, does turn into a goat-faced devil monster, which is one of my favorite kind of monsters that you can get in a horror movie. But this is really on this list because of how frighteningly accurate it tried to be with the satanic rituals. The founder and high priest of the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey, was a technical advisor on the film to make sure they got stuff right, and he even has a background part in the movie. So you got some real-life satanic stuff going on behind the scenes. So the ritual stuff is really cool and creepy, and the ending is one of the craziest things you will ever see. So The Devil's Reign, while not necessarily having the best pacing, it's definitely got some slow parts, absolutely deserves to be on this list because of the cast, the creepy satanic stuff, and the amazingly crazy ending. Number 19, The Ninth Gate from 1999.
All my own rare editions have the same protagonist, the devil.
The Nine Gates is the kingdom of shadows. A book reputed to have been written by Satan himself.
So The Ninth Gate was directed by Roman Polanski, who directed another very important movie in the subgenre that we might be talking about later, but it really feels like this big A-list Hollywood production. It's got a great cast led by Johnny Depp. You've also got Frank Langella in here, and almost more than a horror movie, it feels like an occult neo-noir. It's really got that noir feeling because Johnny Depp is this rare book dealer, but he acts as an investigator throughout the film because he is hired to track down the last copies of this ancient satanic text. And he's going around investigating, trying to find them, interviewing people. All that stuff is really entertaining. But the ultimate goal of the person who hired him to find these books is to be able to summon the devil.
Satan is good. Satan is our pal.
So there are a lot of really interesting conversations around the occult rituals, how this could actually be done. And it just ends up being a really interesting movie about people trying to summon Satan himself. So obviously a movie like that has got to really hit by the ending. It's all building towards something really big, and I thought it did. The ending is like unexpected. It's not what I thought I wanted, but it's really, really interesting. So it's a very entertaining, interesting, beautifully shot movie about how one can summon the devil. Good stuff. Number 18, The Sentinel from 1977.
Be one with us. There is evil everywhere.
So this is directed by Michael Winner, the guy who made the Death Wish franchise, and it's kind of that crazy wild director's version of Rosemary's Baby, but it certainly differentiates itself enough. First of all, we got to talk about the unbelievable cast that this movie has. It stars Christina Rains, who I'm not super familiar with, but is really good in the film. But then you've got Chris Sarandon, John Carradine, Ava Gardner, Burgess Meredith, Christopher Walken, Jeff Goldblum, Beverly D'Angelo. It's just insane how many people pop up in this weirdo satanic horror film about a woman who, yes, moves into this apartment. And, you know, some of it's a mystery, but since this is a list about satanic horror, we got to talk about some things. It's ultimately about a gate of hell. and an apartment building housing a gate to hell. And it's really fun, really interesting to watch the characters uncover this. I actually really like Chris Sarandon in this as her boyfriend, who isn't the typical kind of character who would say, oh, you're imagining this crazy stuff. This can't be happening. He believes her very early on, and it launches him on this investigation, and all that stuff is really cool. And the ending of this movie, which, I won't totally spoil, but is so insane. What Michael Winner uses for demons in this movie, for like guardians of hell or whatever you want to call them, is actors who have deformities, real life people who have deformities, which is one, in very bad taste. We have to acknowledge that. But two, it's like really effective. It is really effective at creating this like uncanny valley feeling when you watch it, of like not quite, it not being the world that you recognize from everyday life. And it really creates this uneasy feeling. So the ending of this movie packs such a punch, and it's really fun and entertaining leading up to that, with a lot of weird performances and characters and a birthday party for a cat. Check out The Sentinel.
Mr. Angel, my client, Monsieur Louis Satchar.
Number 17, Angel Heart from 1987. So we just talked about The Ninth Gate being a satanic neo-noir, and that's exactly what Angel Heart is too, though the slightly better version. It stars Mickey Rourke as the private detective, and he is so charismatic in this movie. He is so fun to watch. He just got that kind of like cool Brooklyn private detective sort of thing. He's so fun. I absolutely love him in this movie. But unlike The Ninth Gate, which is very open from the start of being a satanic film all about summoning the devil, Angel Heart plays its cards closer to the vest, although I don't think it's very good at hiding those things, but it still saves a lot of reveals towards the end on what it really is. And even that it is a horror movie, because for a lot of the film, it just plays like a normal noir film, really, about a guy just going on an investigation. But of course, it's on this list, so it is a satanic horror film. You've got Robert De Niro as the dark, mysterious client, Louis Cypher. Excuse me. Bet you can't imagine who Robert De Niro is in this movie. He's really good, by the way. It's a nice, subtle performance of who he's playing. He's really, really good. But there's lots of great, shocking moments. There is one of the craziest sex scenes that's probably ever been committed to film, like absolutely bonkers, and an ending that is so dark it will just sink into the bottom of your heart. This movie is ultimately in the selling your soul category of satanic horror, and it's a really good version of that. Number 16, Late Night with the Devil from 2024.
Oh, good evening, night owls, and thank you for allowing me into your living rooms once again.
Gotta be one of the horror films that had the biggest impact last year. Everybody seemed to love this Shudder original film, Late Night with the Devil, and for very good reason. For one thing, it is such a fun period piece, feeling so authentic about being a Johnny Carson style late night talk show in the 1970s. You got David Dastmalchian in the lead as the talk show host. He is so good in this film. It's the Halloween special of the show, so it's got Halloween decorations around. All of that is such a blast. But it is about this guy bringing a supposedly demon-possessed girl onto the show so he can interview her. And I'm not always the biggest fan of demon possession movies. You're not going to see a lot of them on this list, but this is a really good example of one. I find it so interesting because this girl is not possessed all the time. She's always like housing this demon within her, but it kind of wiggles in and out of her mind at different times. So sometimes it comes out, sometimes she's just herself. And I find that so creepy and so unsettling. The fact that there can be a demon in you that's coming back and forth, how much it wants to control you. And since the movie is so good at setting up the realism and making it feel like you're really watching like a lost talk show on a VHS tape or whatever, it really just adds to the creep factor. So this movie is scary, but it is really fun and kind of a cozy watch. It's pretty much perfect right up until the ending, where it abandons its found footage trappings a little bit, but that's ultimately a small complaint. I think this movie is great.
Stanley used the power of man to call on the powers of evil. Evilspeak.
Number 15, Evilspeak from 1981, which is about a bullied military school student who fights back against his tormentors by using a computer with the devil. So this is one that I think I'm weird for loving this movie, but guys, I love this movie. This film often gets thrown into the so bad it's good category if people think it's even good at all, just like a dumb, crazy, bonkers 80s horror nonsense movie. I just don't agree. Like, I really, really like Evilspeak. For one thing, I think Clint Howard is so good in the lead. Like, this is one of the rare times he got to be a lead in a film. And he is so likable and sympathetic. And the bullies that torment him at this military school are so hateable that you kind of cheer for him while he goes down this horrifically dark path by making a pact with the devil through a computer. Yes, and I think the computer stuff, the extremely dated, obviously, computer stuff, communicating with the devil that way is one of the reasons this movie gets made fun of, but it works for me. I think it's fun, and the movie is genuinely creepy because I think it goes so hard on these satanic horror aspects, harder than a movie like this normally would. And I think if it was made in like the late 1980s, they wouldn't have gotten away with this. A lot of stuff would have been cut out, but it's really violent. It is really cruel and brutal. The movie has a big emphasis on pigs, and usually satanic horror goes with goats more so, but something about pigs kind of creep me out. And the pigs, like there's a pig attack in this movie that kind of sickens me. Like, it really bothers me. And the ending of the film is so tragic and horrific and gruesome. I kind of can't believe that Evilspeak goes this hard while also being a teen horror movie about a very sweet protagonist who, God, he goes down a dark path. So I think Evilspeak is underrated. If people have convinced you it's dumb, it's terrible, don't believe them. Check this movie out. Number 14, Night of the Demon from 1957.
And tonight is the night that Dana Andrews, as a daring scientist, defies the mysterious, murderous devil cult.
This is one of the classic originals of satanic cult horror movies. Night of the Demon, or also known by its American title, Curse of the Demon, is absolutely fantastic. For a lot of the film, this is another one that feels like a classic noir. It's about our lead, played by Dana Andrews, who's investigating the death of his friend in this satanic cult led by the sinister Dr. Carlswell, who is such a great presence in this movie. But the movie is bookended by you getting to actually see a devil monster. And I think it's one of the coolest cinematic depictions of a devil monster we've ever gotten to see. Despite the fact that director Jacques Tourneur really did not like getting to see the devil, he wanted it to be a much more subtle, leave it to your imagination sort of thing. And the producers forced this into it. Personally, I think he was wrong. I think you need to see that demon. I think it makes the movie pack that much more of a punch. And it's such a cool visual for horror fans to get to see. So I'm a fan. The movie is very dark. It's beautifully shot. It's one of the best satanic cult films we've still seen to this day. Number 13, The House of the Devil from 2009.
They lied to you.
I know.
They're liars.
Okay, I know you're right. But it's $400. This is huge. This one night changes everything for me.
This has got to be one of the 2000s indie horror films that made the biggest splash. House of the Devil has kind of become a modern classic despite being such a small film. It's the movie that really put writer, director, and editor Ty West on the map, who's become one of my favorite current horror directors. And there's so many things I love about this film, like the cast. I mean, the lead, Jocelyn Donahue, is so likable, and on the power of this movie, I'm now very excited to see her anytime she pops up in a movie. Tom Noonan as her client, Greta Gerwig as her friend. Yes, one of the most successful directors of our time right now. This was an early role for her. And Ty West really tried to give it a 1970s aesthetic without going too hard on just nostalgia bait, I don't think, but it makes the movie look absolutely beautiful from start to finish. And despite being very slow, which it is, there was actually a lot of time in the film spent with Jocelyn Donahue walking around the house anticipating something weird happening. I really think it maintains a sense of dread so that I personally am never bored. Like the babysitting job she gets when she goes to interview for it and finds out what it is, it really creeps you out. It's unsettling. It's like, oh, maybe don't do this. But of course she does do this. And I just feel that dread from start to finish. This is a movie that I have seen several times actually, and it never bores me. And when it gets to the ending that it's clearly leading up to, it's amazing. Like, it's one of the best examples of this kind of satanic horror that I've ever seen. It rules.
Oh my God.
I didn't mean to do this.
Number 12, The Devil's Candy from 2015. So ever since this 2015 indie horror film first came out, it has been such a personal favorite for me. I absolutely love The Devil's Candy. And a big reason for that is I love these characters so much. This was during a time when there were just a lot of horror movies about families, and they tended to be very normal, cookie cutter, generic American families. But The Devil's Candy was about metalheads. I mean, this family, like, they're artists. The dad is literally a professional painter. He's played by Ethan Embry, by the way, who 90s teen movie fans will know from Can't Hardly Wait, and he's so good here. They're different, they're fun, they're really relatable. Like, I absolutely love these people, and I care so much about them when going through the movie, which makes it so emotionally investing. But The Devil's Candy has a form of possession. It's like the devil getting into your head and pushing you to do things like murder to feed the devil. And there is a character in this film who has the worst form of this possession, and he is such a horrifying threat. He's played by Pruitt Taylor Vince, who's actually going to be Jonathan Kent in the upcoming Superman movie, so that's going to be a very different kind of role. But here he is so menacing, so scary. So I think the movie is intense, it's emotional, it's a good satanic metal movie. I love it. Number 11, The Blood on Satan's Claw from 1971.
The devil is disturbed by the plow. The satanic essence of evil wreaks violent and revolting revenge.
So this is one of the quintessential folk horror movies of all time. And certainly not all folk horror falls into the satanic category, but this one surely does. And it's about that olden times idea that plagued like Puritan villages in the English countryside or in the New World, where they feared that the devil was lurking out in the woods and that the children of the village were going out to meet with the devil, to sell their souls, to put their name in his book. And this is basically a movie that takes those ideas absolutely seriously and says, yes, that is absolutely happening. All of the teenagers are turned to the devil and they're going to do horrible things because of it. And it's really fun, and it just has phenomenal atmosphere. Wonderful rural folk horror period kind of recreation that I absolutely love. You actually do get to see a visual representation of the devil that's out there. He's kind of goofy looking, but in a way that I kind of love and I think is really fun. And Linda Hayden just gives a fantastic performance as the lead of this coven, who's really pulling all the kids in on this devil worship and stuff. So Blood on Satan's Claw is an absolute classic. I highly recommend it. The Lords of Salem from 2012. I think The Lords of Salem is like one of the all-time underrated horror movies. It's directed by Rob Zombie, who tends to get a lot of hate, but I think this is by far his best movie. It is his greatest achievement. It is such a fascinating, weird, trippy, but endlessly creepy satanic witch film. This is ultimately like one of the most satisfying witch movies I have ever seen in terms of the iconography, the plot. It's all so interesting. Rob Zombie's wife, Sherry Moon Zombie, stars in the film, and I think it's by far her best performance. She is really, really good here, as is the entire cast, including Jeff Daniel Phillips and Bruce Davidson, Meg Foster as one of the witches, Dee Wallace, one of the witches too. I do find the movie very interesting and sad on a character level because of the character's addiction history and the way she's struggling to just live a normal life. And I definitely get emotionally invested in her story. But really, the movie is on here, and it is so high because the satanic imagery in here is horrifying. This is maybe one of the creepiest movies I have ever seen. And the satanic demon devil imagery, the figure that you see here, is so bizarre. It's just the kind of things like, I can't believe somebody came up with some of the things that you see on screen here, but it transports me into another world in a really scary way. And I love it. I think it's awesome. Number 9, The Devil Rides Out from 1968.
Do you believe in the power of darkness? That's a superstition. Now there you are wrong. It is a living force which can be tapped at any given moment of the night.
Classic Hammer horror film directed by Terrence Fisher, who is the most famous director of Hammer horror films. And The Devil Rides Out is one of the most common answers that I hear for when people say what their favorite Hammer movie is. And that doesn't totally surprise me because it's very different for Hammer. So if Hammer's not quite your thing, you might actually really like The Devil Rides Out because it's not gothic. It takes place in contemporary setting. It's not as exploitative as a lot of Hammer films are. are. It's a little more classy, but it really goes hard on the satanic cult kind of stuff. Like, it's pretty intense, and you've got Christopher Lee in here as the hero. You would expect for him to be the satanic priest, but that's actually Charles Gray, who's really good here. But Christopher Lee is an intense, no-nonsense, devil-hunting badass who honestly uses a lot of magic and spells and rituals to fight the Satanists, almost as much as the Satanists do. So it kind of feels like good magic versus bad magic in a really fun way. The satanic cult scenes are effective, they are convincing, and this is another one where you will get to see a goat-headed devil monster, which is one of the most underrated kind of monsters you can see in a horror movie. Love that kind of stuff. The Devil Rides Out is one of the top classics of the genre, and I think everybody has got to see it. Number 8, The Blackcoat's Daughter from 2015.
You know about the sisters, don't you? They worship the devil.
This is one of my favorite low-budget indie horror films of the modern era, and it's one of the scariest movies on this list, absolutely. The Blackcoat's Daughter creeped me out so much when I first saw it. It's a slow-moving movie, but it's one of the best movies I've ever seen at a building sense of creeping dread. As you've got these two young women there who are played by Kieran Shipka and Lucy Boynton, and ultimately one of them is possessed by a demon or the devil himself. And it's kind of about the devil filling a gap of loneliness. And even if that demon is exorcised, there is a desire to have it back so you're not alone anymore. It's about this like hunger for demon possession in a person. There are not a lot of movies that tackle that kind of thing, but that idea is so scary to me that I think that Blackcoat's Daughter, it just creeps me out so much. It's got such a great sense of atmosphere out in the very cold snow. It is such a just brutally cold feeling movie. And it's directed by Osgood Perkins, who's another one of my favorite horror directors working right now. And he actually directed another movie recently that could fit on this list as well, but like it's not really marketed as being under this subgenre. I didn't know if I quite wanted to go there. And I thought, well, I'll only include one Oz Perkins movie, and this is definitely the one to include, but he's got another one that could go here. Let me just say that. And the visual depiction of the devil in here is so simple, but it's one of the scariest I've ever seen. So yes, I love this film.
The one.
Or number 2. I would say for most people, The Exorcist will be number 1. So let me just own. It's directed by William Friedkin. It's got incredible performances, such a great cast. It's shot so naturally. It feels like just such a natural 70s drama, but the horror of it, the Exorcist horror that this movie really created the whole subgenre of demonic possession movies is so unbelievably horrifying. And even though possession stuff, I've seen it a million times by now, and you're not going to see a lot of possession movies on this list because it's not really my favorite thing. It's not one of my favorite subgenres. When it comes to this particular subgenre, I prefer satanic cult, satanic worship. I think that stuff's more interesting than possession, than somebody lying in a bed and barfing and head spinning around and blah, blah, blah. But if you created that kind of stuff on film, that is amazing. Like, it's just mind-blowing. It's got such intense sequences. I could not put it above the top 6 here because the top 6 on this list are such all-timer heavy hitters for me, even more than The Exorcist for me personally. But the fact that it exists in a subgenre that I don't really care for, I don't like a lot of demon possession movies, this one absolutely works. And the flashes of imagery that you get of the demon here, they're so unsettling. They're so scary. So yes, The Exorcist is a great film. Number 6, The Exorcist III from 1990, which is about a police detective who is investigating a satanic crime of a boy's decapitation and crucifixion.
I saw it. I watched him die.
So yes, I am one of those people that likes The Exorcist III more than the first one. There are a few reasons for that. First of all, this movie feels even more evil to me. Like, when I watch this, I just feel such a just overpowering feeling of evil that is coming through every frame of this movie and is so unsettling and scary. It's so well done in that way with the imagery, with the feelings it elicits. And then I absolutely adore George C. Scott's performance as this police detective. He is such an engaging actor. I'm just such a big fan of him. And he really just draws me into the reality of what is going on, these horrifying crimes that he's investigating. And when it comes to the demon possession genre, I never really understood why so often screen, it's depicted as somebody lying in a bed, screaming, writhing, throwing up. I realize there are some real world things that that's pulling from, but this movie's version of demon possession just makes more sense to me, that it is manifesting through savage killings and horrific crimes. That more seems like the kind of thing that a demon would do if they could possess a body. So I buy into the reality of it a little more. It's got incredible supporting performances too from like Brad Dourif. I think The Exorcist III is an all-timer, and it is even scarier than The Exorcist to me personally. Number 5, Hereditary from 2018.
Who's gonna take care of me?
You don't think I'm gonna take care of you?
But when you die...
Can anyone deny that Hereditary is one of the biggest horror classics that has come out in the past few years? I mean, immediately when this movie came out, it made such a splash, and I'll never forget going to see it in the theater with my wife. It was so scary. Like, it was such a scary experience. It was so shocking. I remember there was a moment fairly early on when it wasn't even any kind of supernatural horror yet. It was like an unbelievably horrific death of a character and the other characters reacting to it, where it just felt so traumatic and it felt like something we shouldn't even be looking at. And it really is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. I do think it's incredible. Toni Collette gives a mind-blowing lead performance here. The thing that everybody always says about Toni Collette in Hereditary is she should have won an Oscar. And yeah, sure, she should have. But honestly, who cares? She got something way better than an Oscar, which is a movie and a performance that will be remembered by film fans forever and that nobody will ever stop talking about. And frankly, a lot of Oscar winners can't say the same about their Oscar winning performances. And I gotta admit, this is one that I didn't think of for this list immediately because the figure of horror in this movie is King Payman. And at first I was like, oh, is he like a pagan god or something? But no, I had to remind myself he is a king of hell. He is a demon, and he is actually a king of hell that has appeared in very old texts and such. So writer-director Ari Aster didn't totally invent him. And the cult stuff, the possession stuff, it is so scary. It's some of the scariest that this subject matter has ever been. So yes, I absolutely love Hereditary. Number 4, Prince of Darkness from 1987.
It started a month ago.
What started?
A change in the earth, his power.
So this is a classic 80s John Carpenter movie. John Carpenter is my favorite director, and this is one of my favorites of his films. And it's the one that I have always said is his scariest movie. It is such an interesting film because it's John Carpenter's attempt to merge religious horror, theological ideas with science. And he was inspired to make this movie after studying quantum physics for a bit. And it's a film where you're going to watch characters stand around a lot explaining absolutely bizarre ideas about the scientific reality of the devil, of demons, of spirit world, all this kind of stuff. And it's endlessly fascinating to me. It's so impressive that he pulled that off here because it is about how the devil is a green goo. They find an ancient source of green goo and determine this is the physical manifestation of the devil. And it's just the way that physical reality just infects everything around it and just rots the soul of everything surrounding is so creepy. And it is such a great idea. Well, honestly, though, it's an idea that could easily be terrible, but John Carpenter is best director ever, practically. He pulls it off brilliantly. So Prince of Darkness is one of my favorite 80s horror movies. I love it so much.
What went we out into this wilderness to find? Leaving our country, kindred, our fathers' houses for the kingdom of God.
Number 3, The Witch from 2015. Another one of the biggest classics already, I would say, even though it just came out in 2015, of the folk horror genre. And this is Robert Eggers' attempt to bring to cinematic reality the history of early settlers in America, their actual beliefs around witches, witchcraft, the devil, their fear that there were witches out in the woods who were making pacts with the devil and will come and infect their family and turn their children. A lot like Blood on Satan's Claw, right? But Robert Eggers is so obsessed with real history that he makes this film so unbelievably accurate about what real people believed. And it brings those beliefs to reality in the form of a movie. And I absolutely love that. I think it's amazing. I think it's one of the coolest looking movies I've ever seen, the way it brings this period to life. The cast is just unbelievably authentic. Like Anya Taylor-Joy got her start in this movie, which is great. She's one of my favorite actresses right now. But man, Ralph Ineson as the father, what an engaging performance, just absolutely mind-blowing. And this movie has one of the most iconic visual representations of the devil of our modern times. Everybody knows about him in this movie. I mean, wouldst thou like to live deliciously? It's already such an iconic thing in modern horror. So I absolutely adore The Witch. And even though it's not my number one, I think it's the scariest movie on the list. Number 2, Rosemary's Baby from 1968.
Are you pregnant? No, not yet.
Based on the book by the same name, Rosemary's Baby is one of the greatest movies of all time. It is so mind-blowingly well made, well shot, well acted, brings you into the reality of this crazy situation so well. And it's certainly the greatest version of this particular section of Satanic Horror, which is about the birth of the Antichrist and a woman being impregnated by the devil and having to bring this child to term, being surrounded by a witch's coven, by a satanic cult members who are trying to make this happen. Such a sense of dread in here. Mia Farrow is so good at being so likable, so relatable, and you so desperately want this to not happen to her, but it's just a one-way ticket to hell. This entire movie is. It has such an impactful ending, despite the fact that it doesn't go for big special effects. It's not going to show you a lot, and maybe for some people they might find it to be a bit of a letdown, but that's kind of hard for me to imagine because, gosh, the ideas that it voices at the end of this movie, especially about what Rosemary decides to do, is so interesting, but so creepy, like so incredibly creepy. So I love Rosemary's Baby so much. One of the greatest horror films of all time.
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
If this is the truth, where does it end?
But at number 1, The Omen from 1976. So when I first started making this list, I immediately put The Omen at number 1, and I never second guessed that. It was never a hard decision. I just knew The Omen is the greatest satanic horror film of all time. And it's one I came to only a few years ago, really. It's one I kind of avoided, perhaps because of the presence of Gregory Peck as the lead, who is an actor I really like. I kind of assumed it probably wasn't like really a horror movie. It was only like kind of about some horror ideas. But no, folks, The Omen is a capital H horror movie. It is horrifying. It's got crazy, gruesome deaths whenever somebody tries to alter the plan of Satan and of bringing this Antichrist into adulthood, into power. When anybody stands in that way, crazy death occurs. And it's so interesting watching Gregory Peck discover the most horrifying thing possible, that his child is this monster and having to do something about it. Like, it's a human story that is hard to imagine, but in the moment when you watch it, feels relatable and feels so incredibly scary. It's got the best satanic atmosphere of any movie I've ever seen, if only because of the score by Jerry Goldsmith. It's got that like choral Latin chanting kind of thing. It's the best version of it I've ever seen. It makes like any moment in the movie feel so scary, if only because of that amazing music. So I think The Omen is really fun to watch, really entertaining, beautifully well made in like every possible way. And it's so great to watch like such a horrifying horror movie that's so like A-list in like every possible way. Those kind of movies don't come around a lot, but The Omen is one of them, and it's my favorite satanic horror film of all time. Before I go, I just want to give a huge thank you to my patrons who truly make big videos like this possible, with a special shout out to Drew Mariotti, Aaron Yostin, and Greg Newmeyer. You guys absolutely rule. So that's my list. This was really fun, but also really scary. So let me know your list down in the comments below. What other satanic horror films do you love that didn't quite make my list? And if you want to hang out with me more, check out my top 20 folk horror movies right over there. That's another fun list, as well as this playlist of a lot of my other best of list videos. Anyway, thank you so much. If you haven't yet, give a like and a subscribe. I would appreciate it, and I will see you next time.